Oh my God, Anita.
Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your humble host, Willie Bragg. Well, today we're going to discuss, something that's been, we discussed it a little bit here previously, MAGA communism, hashtag MAGA communism. We're going to discuss it again and probably maybe discuss it a time or two more and see where it goes from here. It's been all the rage on the online left, and it's really caused quite a bit of a stir. And and I've been kind of curious to hear, wondering what the other folks from the online left beyond Jackson Hinkle, beyond Caleb Maupin, beyond Haas from Infrared, beyond Yankee Tanky and some of the other folks who are talking about this. I was wondering what some of the other people were saying about this, and I've heard the Young Turks the other day talking about it, and I'm thinking maybe I should do a discussion on that too. I was a little surprised by their take on it, to tell you the truth. Really, I was. And it, Jimmy Dore had Jackson Hinkle and Craig Pasta Jardula from Combo Couch debating this on the Jimmy Dore show just recently. And so that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to play from the Jimmy Dore show the discussion and debate over the terminology and whether it's correct or not correct. Some of y'all know what my position is, but I like to see two people debating the pros and cons of it, and it was interesting hearing this debate the other day. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and we'll play that from the Jimmy Dore show here momentarily. Excuse me. Sorry. Not enough sleep when you work graveyard shift. All right. Give me a moment here. All right. All right. Where am I? Right here. And there we go. All right, folks, give me a moment here. Let me get that screen large enough. I'm going to put it on the speed. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Get that speed going. Let's see. We're going to try We're going to try 1.25 to save time. And let's see here. Yeah, let's get started. All right, give me a moment. Here we go.
Now, Jackson, there's been a lot of controversy as of late about MAGA communism. And so I want you to tell us what is, because no one can really define what it is. And the people who seem to like to talk about it the most won't talk to you directly about it. So I want you to tell me what is MAGA communism?
MAGA communism is an idea that I didn't come up with. Haas of the Infrared Show, who we went out to dinner in LA together. He's a good guy.
I remember Haas.
Yeah, so he came up with it. The idea is that a lot of the left in America right now is not aligned with us on the issues that matter most when it comes to defeating big tech, nationalizing big tech, protecting free speech, abolishing the CIA, the FBI, going against the endless wars, these sorts of things, going against big pharma, big agriculture. They kind of run in line with the average Democratic Party sentiment. And the working class, which not in its entirety, but I would say in large part makes up the MAGA movement, is aligned with communists on this issue, or leftist, whatever. But there definitely is a strong line that can be drawn between Marxists and MAGA on this very issue, or on these very issues. And at the end of the day, I think that what we've seen undoubtedly from the Trump administration in their 4 years is that it was either consciously or in some cases unconsciously doing the bidding of the deep state. We saw that countless times throughout the Trump administration. So I see it as the goal of this project of MAGA communism to be able to highlight the contradictions between the oligarchical ruling class and the working class movement itself, that is MAGA, and trying to uproot the liberalism and globalism and neoconservatism that's finding its way within MAGA party politics. So that's the broad goal. It's not an effort to uphold fascism or the duopoly, as some of those people may have put it, our detractors. But it's been trending on social media for the past week. It won't stop, and a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of MAGA supporters are actually talking about it, and they think it's a great idea. So that's pretty much it.
So this is basically a lefties' outreach to Trump supporters to join on the things, the issues that your views align. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. But staying true to it and exposing people like Ron DeSantis, who might be courting a right-wing populist following through the politics that he's putting forward as governor of Florida. But at the end of the day, someone like Ron DeSantis does not differ at all from the Rhino Republicans. He is a Rhino Republican when it comes to the most important issues, his foreign policy and his views on the intelligence community. So being able to highlight those contradictions.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt here. One thing, Jackson Hinkle needs to realize that there's a difference between 2016 Donald Trump and 2020 Donald Trump. 2016 Donald Trump was a populist, closest thing to a right-wing populist in the European and perhaps the Latin American sense of the term, where I would say that there's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to the right-wing populist movement. Some of them are really, really horrible and authoritarian. I mean, they're all going to be authoritarians. They're on the right. Some of them are going to be ruthless capitalists, and some of like a Pinochet type in Chile, or someone like Salazar in Portugal, or then you'll see something like I believe that Perón in Argentina was more along the lines of a right-wing populist that kind of conceded to unions down in Argentina, if I remember correctly. Or not that he was populist, but in Germany, Bismarck in the 1800s creating the welfare state, and it was because it was a threat of the Social Democratic Party in Germany, which was much more radical in the 1800s. That Donald Trump in 2016 was a populist. He's made some good sound bites, the way that Bernie Sanders did, except Bernie Sanders was sincere. We all may have a disagreement about where Bernie Sanders is today. I've heard it said that when you try to go and change the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party comes to change you. And if you're trying to go into the Republican Party to try to create something progressive, you think that Ron DeSantis, who is a fascist, or do you think that something as vanilla as Mitch McConnell is going to allow this to take place? I mean, it isn't 2016 anymore for Donald Trump, and it isn't 2016 or 2020 for Bernie Sanders anymore. And the 2020 Donald Trump was closer to a Ron DeSantis than he was in 2016. I'm sorry. That's just my take.
Now, what do you say to the criticism? Well, first of all, let me bring in Craig Pasta. Now, what are your feelings about MAGA communism?
Well, first off, I want to say that I don't think it's disingenuous. I just think it's completely wrong. You know, I go to a lot of election integrity events, and right now those are filled with MAGA people out there because they feel they were, done wrong in the last election. So that is why I get to speak with a lot of MAGA people. And it's just diametrically opposed to each other. When you go to these events and you hear a lot of MAGA people, 9 times out of 10, their number one enemy is communism. They'll say it all the time. Oh, Marxism, communism, that's the problem. Even more than China, even more than Bill Gates and our good buddy over there, Jeff Bezos, or any type of oligarch. This is the thing they fear most. And at the end of the day, they feel that Marxism, and I honestly feel that a lot of communists in the United States, people who call themselves communists, I believe they're mostly cappuccino communists, I call them that. I don't think they really understand what communism is, like Jackson does and some of our friends who've probably read about theory and Engels and all these other people. But they feel that it's a complete opposite of what they're trying to achieve. They are capitalists through and through. They believe in choice. And they believe that Marxism and communism is the exact opposite. So when you are around MAGA people, you'll know right off the bat. You know, I kind of sent a friend a link today saying that I'm going to be on Jimmy Dore, my good friend Jackson Hinkle, and we're going to be talking about MAGA communism. And they were like, what the heck is that? You know, they've never heard about it before. So number one, I don't think it exists at all. Number two, even though we are desperate for some type of unity with the working class, we need to stay away from labels. You know, you guys say it all the time. You know, when you're building a coalition of working.
Well, I'm sorry. I wanted to. I'm sorry. I will let him continue in a second. He brought up a very important point. And I mean, and I've seen Craig Pasta Jardula watching Combo Couch over the last 2 years, having great discussions with people who are who will not be very friendly toward a left-wing message or a left-wing a discussion, and he's correct. This country is very right-wing. It won't fly with even a lot of shit-lib Democrats, and if it won't fly with shit-lib Democrats, it sure as hell is not going to fly with Republicans. It will not. I mean, something as mild as the term social democracy or democratic socialism, the welfare statism that exists in many European countries, and even in some third world countries that have stable governments that have a benign Western setup. Those places, it works because people are acquainted with these terms and all of that. Here in America, we are basically in the dark politically as a culture. And if you can't get shit libs on board, they resented Bernie Sanders. They resented Bernie Sanders from ever trying to get the Democratic nomination in 2016 and 2020. If that's the case, what makes them think, these MAGA communists, hashtag MAGA communists, think that they're going to be able to convince hardcore MAGAs? I mean, all kinds of people in MAGAs. Are you going to convince the libertarian Ron Paul types? I mean, and who are the most benign of them all? Are you going to convince them that MAGA communism is the way to go? Are you going to convince the real fascists within MAGA? I mean, the ones that I would say that even the hardcore MAGA people kind of wish they wouldn't be there. The ones who are unofficially, the ones who surrounded Richard Spencer years ago, they're still lingering around. You're going to convince them? A lot of them hate communism, hates leftism, and the people who are like the Dinesh D'Souza types, the Michelle Bachmann types, the what I call the QAnon neocon types, those types of people. You think that those people, and there's not a whole lot of difference between them and the alt-right, except that they that they pretend not to hate Jews, but you think that they're going to go and embrace MAGA communism? No. Craig Pasta Jardula is absolutely 100% correct on this one. Sorry, he's correct. I just don't see it happening. I've been thinking about this. I just don't see it happening. It doesn't add up.
Working class people, you don't ask who's a communist, who's a Marxist, who's a capitalist, who's a Trump supporter, who's a Democrat, who's a Republican. Labels only separate us. It's when we remove the labels and come together on our common goals in the working class and our economic struggles, then we can bring it together. This, to me, is just something that can be used to weaponize and divide us even more. So even though we are desperate for some form of coalition, I just think this whole thing is just definitely non-existent, and it is a way of separating us even further.
And he says, when you're organizing and labor and all of that, you're not supposed to really go and ask ideological questions, and there's too much of a mindset. Like, I've been involved in union work in the past myself. I've been a member of the USCW, United Food Commercial Workers, Local 204, for the past 20 years in my previous job. And let me tell everybody here that being and my ideology, I am a social democrat. I'm not really any form communist myself. I'm not a Marxist Leninist. I'm not a Trotskyist. I'm not a Stalinist. I'm not a Maoist. I'm not any of these movements. I'm not saying that the people who support communism, not demonizing. The movement. It's just that's not the historical path I chose when I joined the left. I have my tradition is Eugene Debs and Norman Thomas. But the point I'm trying to make here is this, and living today with Bernie Sanders, although Bernie Sanders is getting to be disappointing, and in the squad, I'm kind of very I get very frustrated. Having all that said, working within unions, believe me, they don't want to hear even a mild social democratic voice. I remember just talking to these people, business agents who sounded like Tea Partiers a decade ago over the healthcare. I had one person saying, I think this Obamacare is a plan to try to push us into a government-run single-payer system. I'm like, what the fuck? And I was told by one of the business agents that there was a Republican in the it's one of the business agents in the union, and I think it was that particular person saying that. And so I'm just thinking to myself, wow, what craziness is that, and how ignorant, because Obamacare is a Heritage Foundation healthcare plan. And there are people to this day that they're not convinced of that, no matter how much I've shown them that Obamacare is a right-wing healthcare plan. But anyhow, you don't ask questions. There are all kinds of ideologies across the board on the rank and file workforce. And, you're going to be working with people as you go on strike. You're going to be working with people on a picket line that you're not going to agree on. And you know what? If a picket line, if you go on strike and you go and achieve what you achieved, I don't give a damn what somebody's going to believe, what they believe next to me. If we get to have higher pay or get better benefits or better vacation time out of this, or whatever other perks that's involved in a union contract. And gosh, I miss belonging to a labor union. But anyway.
So Jackson, what do you say to that?
I think those are some good points, but at the end of the day, I think that the MAGA communism hashtag or trend, whatever, is actually breaking down the labels further. It's like, it's so chaotic. It's so in your face that when people question it and they begin to discuss it, and I found that today I was on One American News Network. I never thought in my life I'd ever be on like a broadcast like that. And I was talking to the host, and we were actually able to break down, what it is that we all agree on. And he was like, wow, I think that we actually agree on a lot of the things that we're talking about here. And through these conversations and through highlighting the contradictions that don't align between left and a right in America, but between the top and the bottom, we're able to further come together and actually begin to address these issues. I think that you're 100% right that we need to focus on the issues, but the idea behind MAGA communism is focusing on the issues at hand, and it's not an effort to divide anybody or anything like that. And the whole idea is to unite Marxists with MAGA, and I think it's working quite well. It's starting a lot of really big conversations, and at least in the online community I've seen, a lot of MAGA people coming together with Marxists and saying, we actually agree on more than we disagree on.
I don't think so. When I hear things like big tech, they have two different a leftist and a right-wing person has two different views of big tech. When leftists talk about big tech, they're talking about the idea of monopolies. They're talking about the idea, of monopolies involved. And yeah, I know the shit libs do love censorship, but we're talking about the real left here. The real left wants to take it down as far as the monopoly, but they also want to protect the free speech. When the right wing talks about big tech, and they will give you the platitude of free speech, but they don't fucking mean it. What they mean is they want to impose cancel culture on the left. They want to impose cancel culture on the left. I'm going to repeat. When you hear self-proclaimed and self-avowed right-wing populists talk about big tech, what they mean is that they are fine with the companies being big, but what they want to do is they want to go and attack the left and impose cancel culture on the left. Doesn't matter which faction of the left, whether it's still woke skulls or whether it's still real left, however you want to define it, they want to go and attack the left and still pretend that they're for free speech, and somehow the gullible middle believes, well, gee, it looks like the conservatives and the right wing are pro-free speech. Anyway, no, and when you hear them talk, I heard the interview on One American News Network, the guy talking about big pharma. He doesn't give a damn about prescription drug prices. His concern about big pharma is the vaccines. Now, I'm a middle of the road person on the vaccines. I am vaccinated. I am boosted. If you want to be vaccinated, go ahead. If you don't want to be you don't want to take the shot, that's up to you. That's how I believe it. I'm a civil libertarian in that regard. Choice. But the right wing wants to make a culture war out of any goddamn thing that they can find, and that's what it comes down to. So when you hear people talk about the big pharma influence, they're doing it to find a way to own the left. That's all they're doing, and they're using big pharma as a talking point. But when it comes right down to it, when the right wing are in charge, you can bet that when it comes to big pharma, the prescription drugs and all access to medicine, it's going to go nowhere but up in price. It's going to bleed financially out of everybody's asshole. You can just bet on it. My solution when it comes to big pharma, take the Defense Production Act of 1950 and nationalize the whole goddamn pharmaceutical industry in the United States. Just go ahead and do it and take the profit out of pharmacy and do it for the people. That's what is needed. Same thing with the all areas of the healthcare industry, healthcare system. But anyway, I had to go get that out of my chest. That's a talking point that the right will use that just pisses the fuck out of me. I can't. Well, I just hate that was not ever, that talking point being addressed. There's no such a thing as right-wing populism, except for culture war bullshit in the United States. Anyway.
And maybe people didn't previously see this. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
So people conflate, I think, Marxism with the Russia-style communism, which wasn't really pure communism. It just became authoritarianism. So I think when you hear when you hear people say things like, "Oh, they're," like when you hear them say, "Oh, Trudeau is communist," right?
Yes.
They don't mean he's communist. They mean he's an authoritarian, because we were brought up my whole life in the United States that communism equaled authoritarianism.
Justin Trudeau is Canada's Barack Obama. Justin Trudeau is Canada's Pete Buttigieg. Justin Trudeau is Canada's Beto O'Rourke. Justin Trudeau is basically Beto O'Rourke, Barack Obama, and Pete Buttigieg all roll up into one person. And he's a third way, just a third way sellout who is a self-righteous prick, not a communist. I mean, he's not even the half decent social democrat that his father was within the Liberal Party in Canada when his father was the prime minister. He's not even that. So and as far as the Russia or the Soviet Union, the whole communism thing, here's the thing about that. The 70 years of the system, guaranteed housing, wonderful. Healthcare, wonderful. Jobs, wonderful. Some of the political suppression that took place, not so wonderful. Understatement. But there was a lot that was going on in the United States. Was on Soviet soil to the year 1921. There were things of that nature. A lot of what went wrong within communism usually is a response because of what the United States and other Western countries have done. So there is that. And even within the communist world, not all communist countries are the same. There's a world of difference between Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge government in Cambodia and the government of Vietnam. And what did the United States do when Vietnam came in to Cambodia in 1979? Well, we know what happened. The Khmer Rouge government were basically defeated, and it was under Vietnamese occupation. And the Soviet Union were right to support Vietnam, and China ended up supporting the Khmer Rouge. And I cannot think of the name of the prince that the United States supported, but the prince, and I cannot think of his name at the moment, was linked with the Khmer Rouge. So the United States indirectly supported the Khmer Rouge because they were butthurt over Vietnam. And even my dad, who's a Republican and a conservative, explained to me when I was younger how people were misunderstood about Ho Chi Minh. That when the communists drove the French out of French Indochina in 1956, he wanted to establish diplomatic relations with the United States that I never knew. And the United States basically told Ho Chi Minh to fuck off. And what a terrible mistake the United States made. I mean, all the lives that were lost in the Vietnam War on all sides, and American lives lost down the road too. And the United States played their cards right in a benign way. Ho Chi Minh could have been Southeast Asia's Joseph Broz Tito, Yugoslavia, who I am a fan of, by the way. But anyway, I'm meandering. Soviets were the good guys in Afghanistan. I die on that hill. If the United States would have let the Soviets take care of that situation, there would have been no fucking 9/11. So, I mean, and anyway, and there are some areas around the world where the Soviets were not the bad guys. I mean, so there is that. And I'm not, and again, I don't consider myself a communist saying this. I bet you have to kind of look at things around the world with nuance and a neutral lens and all of that. But I'll let them continue.
And so I think people conflate authoritarianism with communism, and that's why people who call themselves or consider themselves conservative or right wing, would have an allergic reaction to the term communism, and I don't think Marxism and communism are the same thing, right? I mean, Marxism wasn't. How do you define communism, Jackson?
Oh, yeah, it isn't the same thing. There are social democrats that call themselves Marxists. There are communists that call themselves Marxists. I just wanted to make that distinction there. It's true.
Jackson?
They're the same thing. They're the same thing. I feel like in America, though, these terms have been bastardized in different ways. So, socialism means one thing to a lot of people. Communism might mean one thing to a lot of people, but they mean the same thing. If you actually read the text, they mean the same thing. But what I think that we need to focus on is how communism translates into the material reality of our country. We can take things, and I discussed this with the conservative on OAN today, we can take things like the pro-industrial mindset, pro-growth mindset from China and from the Soviet Union, while still recognizing that we have many cultural disagreements and disagreements based upon governance with these two models. Take the good things from the communists there, apply it to America while respecting the rich history of labor struggles and progressive history that we have in this country, and fighting for more growth, more industrialization, more wealth for all. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's we want people to have more wealth. We want to lift the masses from their knees.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I do still think that when you do equate this whole MAGA and communism situation, you're actually just kind of separating that particular bond can be together, because the MAGA people are hardcore capitalists. And I also want to point out that I think that we can't leave out the fact, Jackson, and I think you'll agree to as well, is that a lot of people who call themselves communists in the United States, and most of the MAGA people, they kind of equate the Marxism with a campus Marxism, with this kind of like culture wars that came along way after Marx was gone. And that is a very divisive tactic. So therefore, they can't get away from that. I do agree that we do need to have more discussions about what people want, because I don't think the communists in this country really are full-blown communists. I believe they are more about a labor movement, a working movement, and that's what they want. And that's what we need to focus on. Anytime we bring this in, this MAGA and communism, it's just something that's completely diametrically opposed, capitalists believe in choice. They believe that the Marxism takes away that choice, and they don't want to be cornered into that kind of ideology.
So how would you, what, so you kind of agree. To me, it's just putting a label on what Christian Smalls did in the Staten Island, right? It's finding common ground with people of different political persuasions and then uniting around those ideas. But you think, is it the label, Craig, called MAGA communism that's off-putting? Would you be if he just called it Workers Unite or something?
Perfect.
Absolutely. And that's what we should do. That's what we've been fighting for. I just believe this is going to be something that can be weaponized to further divide us. It's the labels. Labels separate us. Our human needs bring us together. And that's what we need to stay concentrated on. And I also just feel that it doesn't exist. For most MAGA people, they're like, what are you talking about? However, I do believe that a discussion needs to be had about the things that we need. And I think that when people do call themselves a communist in the United States, they are more kind of like all about the labor movement and labor rights. That's what it's all about. And that's what we need to concentrate on, because if you just talk about labor and you keep the Marxism out of it, you keep the MAGA out of it, that's when we come together. As soon as you put those labels there, it separates us.
Yeah, Jackson, why are you separating us?
I think the biggest thing we need to come together on, and what MAGA and communists probably align on most, is overcoming the deep state and the globalists. And globalism is unique right now. I mean, we're seeing that unfold in Europe. The globalists and the capitalists are fighting against each other. And we need to overcome the globalists. And I think that what you see them doing with the energy markets, with big agriculture, with big pharma, with big tech, are all things that we have common ground with MAGA on. And I think that rather than avoiding the difficult question of what Marxism and communism is, we should actually, lean into it and unite on those common principles that we have. Despite different worldviews, we arrive at the same exact location.
All right. Well, I don't know. That the term is a little rough. That's all. It is a rough term. You know that, right? It hits you a couple different ways.
It's provocative, but that's why it's trending on Twitter right now.
Is it trending?
Been trending for the past week.
Yeah. But some of the comments are very, very negative. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm not saying overall. And once again,
overall, it's positive.
I've seen some, well, first of all, a lot of, put it on Getter, and let's see if you get the same response that you do on Twitter. And we'll see. Most of the MAGA people are hanging out on Getter. They've already left Twitter, so, we'll see.
Okay, so there it is. We still have, so that's our definition of MAGA communism. I still don't know what communism is. They say it's Marxism, but I don't think so. I think Marx was again, I've read very little, but.
You haven't read Lenin, Jimmy? Come on.
But correct. So you guys probably have read more than me. So Marx, all he did was really give a critique of capitalism. He didn't really lay out a new economic system. He just kind of critiqued capitalism so people understood what the F capitalism was, right? Am I wrong?
As well as as well as how we should view the world through the scientific lens of dialectical materialism. And I think that, beyond anything else, has taught us that if we have these common goals, then we should be uniting together on the common goals as a working class rather than fictitious party lines.
Okay, somehow you're going to get me in trouble, Jackson. I don't know how, but somehow you're going to wreck everything. I just feel it. But, okay.
Are you running for president yet? That's one way I might get you in trouble. Yeah. Pressuring you to run for president.
I wish you were old enough, because I would rather support you than me. But they're so vulnerable right now, meaning the establishment, the Republicans and the Democrats, for a candidate like me. And people are already getting ready to funnel progressive energy back into the Democratic Party. Because, like, oh, Nina Turner's going to run for president, or Marianne Williamson's going to run inside the Democratic Party. How the fuck did that work out for Bernie Sanders the last 2 times? It doesn't work out. You become a cuck to the establishment, and then you start doing evil all over the place, which is what they're doing. The squad and Bernie have been supporting fucking evil since Joe Biden got elected. And before that, when they supported the goddamn CARES Act.
Yeah, but going into the Republican Party, I mean, yeah, we see the evil that the Democrats do, but trying to use MAGA to try to influence, there's no way you're going to get Marjorie Taylor Greene to be in solidarity with this movement, and all it's going to do is going to turn probably going to turn some well-meaning people. They're convinced that this is the way to go. It'll turn them into Republican Party activists down the road. Neoconservatism, that's kind of how it evolved, and that's more of a Trotskyist thing. But that's how it evolved to begin with. And yeah, you had a lot of Trotskyists and even some social democratic types that were kind of in league with Trots they decided to move into the Democratic Party, and then they decided to work with some Republicans by the time Reagan came along. And a lot of them just became so entrenched by the time of the Reagan Revolution that they were basically Ben Shapiro before they became Ben Shapiro. And a lot of neoconservatives today deny that they're neoconservatives, and they don't know why did they have the views that they have. And it's just... And I just think that MAGA communism is going to just kind of turn into a Stalinized version of neoconservatism. If that, that's unfortunately a best case scenario. To me, I do see a potential powder keg happening with this movement too. And I don't want to. It's a little controversial. So anyway, I'll probably get into that at another point. But anyway, let them.
Nobody even still knows what happened with the CARES Act. And anyway, so all right. Anything else you'd like to say about MAGA communism before we change subjects?
Oh, I'd like to say that, if you really are serious thinking about running for president, the Libertarian Party is really a party we need to be looking at, Jimmy. I call myself a leftist libertarian, and, maybe they have room for you over there,
So they're not on board for Medicare for all. But maybe I'd be the guy who changes their minds on that or something. I don't know. I was thinking about running in the Republican primary, right? Just because they don't have super delegates.
Yeah, in the Republican Party will do what they did with let me not talk about my perspective on primaries, because that could get me in trouble with the elections. As far as the Libertarian Party is concerned, I'll let Craig, I saw this earlier, so I'll let Craig continue what he's going to say about the Libertarians.
But I'm sure they have ways to screw you too.
They have a control system over there too as well. Their chosen ones are selected, not elected as well.
How did Trump get through? And that's because that's what all this is about, January 6th. Now, this is to make sure that Trump can't run again. And the Republicans are just as afraid of him as the Democrats, because they all serve the same oligarchs. So they're just as afraid, because Trump would roll all over them again, I think. Virginia Beach, Richmond.
Oh, I think he did say something about the Libertarians already. Yeah, basically, the libertarian leftist. He calls himself a left libertarian. And that confuses people too when I use that phrase, because I'm a civil libertarian myself. Left libertarian sometimes I use, and it doesn't mean that I support the Ron Paul style economic libertarianism. It's just that I just have a very individualistic view of people on their social freedoms, but on economics, I'm pretty much a status, in that regard. But anyhow, yeah. So anyway, I am back, and we have here on the chat line, and it's very, 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 very busy here. I like busy chat lines. Okay, I'm scrolling through, and we will get started here. I see some familiar folks. So, all right. Hello from KRTD Media. Kerberos Media. Hello, how are you? Great seeing you. Let's see here. And let's see. Skywarp. Hey, long time no see. Was disappointed that no one on Jimmy Dore was able to define communism or had a basic understanding of Marxism. Well, that's a good point. I guess what ultimately does not make me a communist or Leninist, shall I say, is that I don't believe in democratic centralism. Because the whole idea that you have to abide by a party line. And that was one of the reasons why I left the Socialist Party USA years ago, because they were very upfront about party line politics. And then party line politics started to take place in the early 2000s. And it got really out of hand, and so I left the Socialist Party for that reason. I'm on good terms with some of the people in the Socialist Party now these days. One kind of big name on the online left was a member of the Socialist Party USA. Y'all might have heard of Ben Burgess. Anyway, yeah, he's a little bit larger on the online left than I am, but but anyhow, let's see here. Let's see. You ever listen to Non-Compete on YouTube? He absolutely destroyed MAGA communism and Jackson Hinkle. Check it out if you haven't already. I'm going to write that down so I can go and check Non-Compete. I have not heard Non-Compete. Okay. All right. I've jotted that down. Let's see here. All right. If I were Jimmy Dore, I would have clarified that communism is a stateless, classless, moneyless society where workers control the means of production. And that's pretty much what it meant originally. I mean, before it had the stigma, for better or worse, of what it meant since the Bolshevik Revolution took place. In the original context of the term. Let's see here. Extra Bula. Hey, how are you? That was a good redneck accent. Good morning, Willie. Oh yeah, I do that occasionally just to make a point. Yeah. Of course, I'm Southern, so it comes easy. Let's see. Also, I had pointed out that Frederick Engels wrote the Principles of Communism 1 year before Marx and Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto. Kills me that these people don't do research. Yeah, I have the Communist Manifesto. I have not touched that in years. I may have to get refreshed in that myself. And Radical Leftist Agenda. Hey, how are you this morning? Great seeing you again. Let's see here. Your point seems to be Javero 21 says your point seems to be that MAGA had things to evolve on, and communists can help their movement. That's the point. Well, and I would like to see people who are MAGA be persuaded to not political correctness or being not being basically shame into having a certain position, but being persuaded into having a better positions. But but to be convinced basically that there's a better way than blaming immigrants and blaming people of color and LGBTQ people. And I'm not being woke saying this. I'm just saying just stop blaming other people for problems and look the problems that exist. It happened. It really went into full swing under Reagan, but it was going on before Reagan came along. It was neoliberalism was doing this ugly thing. They were really trying to reverse all the gains that were made for many years in America from the New Deal Great Society and from the labor reforms in Great Britain and the other social democratic reforms around the world where it's been tried. So and we got to go and reverse neoliberalism, and we got to convince the right-wing individuals that Reaganomics suck. Thatcherism sucks. So, hey, Nikki, says Extra Bulla. Let's see. Extra Bulla also said, if you go after hardcore Trumpers, you're just spinning your wheels. If you want to talk to Trumpers, talk to the ones on the fringe who only voted for Trump because they hated Biden. The Trumpers that needs to be reached are not the Kool-Aid drinking Fox News people who wants to go and call all Democrats satanic pedophiles, who wants to go and nationalize everything, including your toothbrush and toilet paper. That's the people, they're just so far gone. And so, I don't even care to try to reach out to them because, you're never going to convince them otherwise. But the people who voted for Trump, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, that they feel like they've been had by the system. The same kind of people that saw hope in Bernie Sanders. Because let's face it, I'm not trying to say that they're the same, except that they spoke. They spoke in a way that they were feeling forgotten. People who were angry and felt forgotten, and those two did reach out rhetorically to the people, and there was a connection. It's just that I think that Bernie Sanders populism was a little more real. However, his bending the knee too much got to me, and so. And that's gotten on my last nerve. So I listened to Richard Marx, but I don't think that's the same thing. No. Let's see. Extra Bulla. Hey. Yeah, actually, Willy Bragg is playing in Durham, but I won't be able to make it to that show, and I hate it. If I would have, I wish I could have kind of planned things a little bit better. I would have made sure I would have been able to go to that show in Durham, North Carolina, that is. Hey, let's see. All right, let's see what we got here. Craig Pasta's assumption about communists in this country is wrong. Many of them actually read the theory, unlike Pasta. I don't know. There's a lot of people who are very critical of the movement, and they think they have all kinds of assumptions about what they think communism is. As I said, socialism, communism, even social democracy, anything that they don't like, they call it that. Of course, now anything they don't like, they're drunk on QAnon, and so anything they don't like, they call pedophiles and all that. I hate to see it that some of that shit's getting normalized in some sectors and all that, and so it just is. That's a little concerning because there's contrarianism. Republicans been called racist for so long. Not all Republicans are racist, but they've been called racist for so long by liberals. That some of them are like, yeah, what y'all going to do about it? And so the Republicans and the right wing has been tossing that pedophile thing at progressives for so long, and the LGBTQ, and the majority of the LGBTQ rejects that. They don't support that, but you're going to have some contrarian progressives that are going to be like in academia, they want to go and own the right wing, and you got to be a little bit careful about that. So they please don't fall into that trap. That's all I got to say about that. So what's up, bro? what do you think about this Deng Xiaoping? China. Well, as far as China's concerned, the social credit system thing does concern me. I just can't endorse that. But then again, the United States have a low tech version of it. Anything you do gets you punished in the United States. You gets you punished. You in life, what have you. That's conservatism right there for you. Conservatism punishes people. So it's United States conservatism is just basically low tech social credit system, and so that's the way I see it. And on the left side, I would say that maybe the cancel culture on certain shit practiced by a certain amount of shit libs and things of that nature. Fiorella should have went on instead of Pasta, since she's more aligned to communism than Pasta is. Yeah, she's more of an ideologue in that regard. He's more of a libertarian leftist in that regard of the two. And I do like them both. I do like them both. I respect them both. But I probably am more ideologically in aligned with Pasta of the two, because as I said, I don't consider myself personally a Leninist and all of that, but that's me. So yeah, let's see. What's the class connection between communists and MAGA? Well, it depends. I mean, there's all kinds of class within any political movement, any what have you. Now, with regard to, here's the problem with MAGA when it comes to the class movement, and maybe the right in general. And I've said this for many years. When it comes to back when I was a generic Democrat, I'd be like, why the fuck are Republicans in the South vote against their economic interests? Not that the Democrats are the panacea, but it's just like they do vote against their interests. I mean, they're fucked over by the healthcare system, and they're fucked over by, in the job. You sit there and you discuss low wages in the job, and you talk union, and someone will be like, we don't need no unions, or healthcare, how expensive it is. We don't want that government run healthcare. It'll be just that mindset. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. I mean, just, Anyway, let's see what we got here. MAGA communism is a brand, is Pasta's point. Then he pushes libertarian socialist, which makes less sense. I see myself kind of as a libertarian socialist, kind of. So, anyway, as a Southerner myself, I appreciate someone who knows how to sound Southern when they want. Most Yankees sound like they're cast rejects of Gone with the Wind. I'll tell you who do the worst Southern accents. And I love British television. I love British television more than life itself. I mean, I love British television. BBC comedies, dramas, you name it. But there's one thing that the British suck at would be American accents. And I cringe when they sound like Southerners, because when they sound like Southerners, they sound like they're from Texas, or when they sound like they're from anywhere else in America, they sound like they're from Brooklyn. I was watching a program called Till Death Us Two-Part, which is the British version of All in the Family before there was All in the Family, and it was running on simultaneously in the early 70s while All in the Family was going on. Same plot, Archie Bunker in the U.S., Alf Garnett in the UK. Alf Garnett was drunk on the train, and he heard an American on the train at the bar. He was like to the bartender. He was like, I like to get a shot of whiskey on the rocks. I'm like, that's an American accent? I'm like, oh, that was cringe. Ugh. Anyway, only a British actor has ever done an American accent well was the late Peter Sellers. Did you ever see the movie I Love You, Alice B. Toklas? His American accent is one of the best I've heard. But usually British people please don't do American accents. And I love British people, but please, no American accents. Let's see. A guy that makes a phrase like a MAGA communism and everybody, hey Kevin, on the fake left, excuse, a guy that makes a phrase like MAGA communism and everybody on the fake left thinks that they know about it, but didn't read 10 pages and listen to 16 hours of video about it. Well, yeah. I mean, it got a lot. It stirred a lot of emotions. Liberals are not worth talking about. Liberals are not worth talking to. They talk away from a table, and they're not part of the communist revolution. They never will be. Don't waste your time. Turn to the right. I would say talk to anybody that has potential to listen, whether they're reasonable MAGAs or reasonable liberals. I mean, you think about it. I mean, the socialists and the social democrats and the communists and all of them back in the 30s convinced Franklin Roosevelt to do some neat things to the economy that got us out of the Great Depression. And that's how American liberalism became liberalism. So, but they decided to go and Reaganize the Democratic Party in the 1990s under Bill Clinton, which is why I hate the Clintons. Let's see. Kills me when Jackson Hinkle used to turn globalist. It's basically an anti-Semitic dogma, so he could just point out neoliberalism instead. I don't think he's anti-Semitic, and I don't think that there's a lot of people that uses that term that they don't mean it that way. But there's a lot of people that uses that term that means it that way. So that's why I personally don't use the term globalism, because it does have that connotation. Just like when I hear people use the term Soros, it's the new Rothschild, and I have a problem. I have a problem with that myself, and even when and I support the Palestinian cause and all that, but when I hear people bash Israel, I like to tell people, don't bash Jewish people, bash the bullshit that the government's doing to the Palestinian people, but don't make it sound like it's just the Jews and all of that, because that just give a bad thing. Just say, fuck Netanyahu, fuck the Likud party, fuck the right wing there, and that's how I go about that. But, I don't like anything that's going to, give a, that anti-Semitic vibe, that sort of thing. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. It's a stretch to think MAGA people are not going to listen to 16 hours of video or read Haas a Substack either. Oh yeah, actually, I saw a Vosh video where he was actually showing a clip from Haas. I didn't realize how short Haas is. I'm like, oh my gosh, he is short. Didn't realize how short he was. I mean, I guess that's why he has the he screams a lot. Kind of makes up. Kind of entertaining when I hear him goes on his rant. So, let's see. I think that Craig Pasta's heart is in the right place, but I think Jackson Hinkle's is a grifter who will do anything for clicks. I did see a video where he talks about the clout, and that was actually saw that on the Young Turks. I might do that. I'll play that Young Turks clip when I get a little energy this weekend. Tomorrow I'll be interviewing Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Standard Time. So anyway, let's see. All right, let's see here. I'm originally from Mississippi, by the way. Oh, okay. All right. I've never been to Mississippi. Hey, I did make some jokes about Mississippi, and I'm going to apologize. I'm a Southerner too. Okay. So I lived in the land of Jesse Helms for many, 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 many years. I hung my head in shame knowing that Jesse Helms was my senator. And a lot of young folks don't know who Jesse Helms was, so I had to explain to them about Jesse Helms. Let's see, the Vanguard did a pretty good job covering this. Yeah, for the most part, for the most part, they sometimes they get a little shit libby, but sometimes they do good and everything. Let's see here. The common sense approach sounds better. I'm all for common sense. I really am. Let's see what we got here. This is a long stream. I'm going to leave this here, but some shithole countries during the combat action, you don't want communism. I promise. To me, there is nothing reasonable about anyone who supports communism. I look at it this way. The Soviets, the Soviets were the biggest reason why Hitler was defeated in World War II. When the Soviets came into Germany, those camps were liberated. I would just say that. I would just say that and leave it at that. So there. Let's see. So why? Any other points? Let's see here. How can someone support communism? Well, when people feel like they've been had in a capitalist system, I can see why. Capitalism has failed, and I heard people talk about 100 million people died under communism. Well, billions have died under capitalism. All systems are fucked up. Every economic system has done horrible things. When you come to think about it, and there's no perfect. I'm not a cultural relativist. I'm not going to say that everybody's equally. All societies are equally good in some way or another, but I'm going to say that pretty much every society and every country and every empire and every nation state that's ever been set up has done fucked up things. And I'll leave it at that because we're all human. I think that liberals and conservatives are worth talking to. I've actually managed to convert a couple to the left. So did I. It took a while, but it was worth it. One of my best friends is a MAGA conservative. I got a few MAGA conservative friends too. They're the more sensible ones. It's one that I get along very well with, and she and I we like to kid each other. Our politics, we will joke. We'll kind of diss on each other about the politics. It's kind of funny, the conversation, especially when we drink. So, let's see here. I think the liberals and conservatives are worth it talking to. I've actually managed to convert. It took a while. I think I mentioned that. All right. Sorry about that. He did a panel that says outrageous stuff on purpose, but to be honest, he was dumb for that shit because people used that against him. Yeah, he might have done that just to be outrageous. That's a good point. I know what you're talking about, actually. Yes. Let's see what we got here. Hinkle ran for office before. Although he said he isn't running again, he's only 23. I think he's playing the long game to run again. I remember when Tim Black was complaining about Jackson Hinkle. He called him Jason Pickle, and he said, "I got socks older than this guy." He cracked me up when he said that. Let's see. No worry, brothers. I make Mississippi jokes too. Oh, believe me, there's a lot of jokes you can make. I live in Johnson County in North Carolina. It's one of the most conservative counties and one of the most redneck places you can imagine. It's just outside Raleigh. And believe me, there's a lot of jokes made about Johnson County. There's a lot of jokes out there. So look at China, Russia, East Germany. Actually, East Germany was probably the most prosperous in the Eastern Bloc. But as I said, if I had a communist model that I favor, Yugoslavia under Field Marshal Joseph Broz Tito. I can't stress Tito enough for people. He is an incredibly interesting figure to read about. And Stalin actually tried murdering him, and he wrote a letter back to Stalin that I wish you would stop trying to murder me. We caught 5 of your people, and if you keep murdering me, I'm going to send somebody after you. That's what he told Stalin. I'm going to send somebody after you, and they're not going to fail a second time. So, I mean, basically is what he said. So, anyway, MAGA communism is rising. No, so I hear. Let's see. Linda, communism is stateless, classless, moneyless society where their workers own the means of production. Communism hasn't existed yet. And that is true in its original meaning. And think about it is, even in America, whether it's MAGA communism, which, as I said, I'm just call me a skeptic on that one. But when it comes to the Communist Party USA, I mean, and I'm saying this not really not the movement itself, but the organization. They're just not what they were in the 1930s. And the Communist Party did some serious shit in the 1930s in terms of labor movements, terms of racial equality, that sort of thing. And thing about it is, what is the Communist Party USA today? They are just a bunch of shit libs that they're just happiest when Democrats are in charge. Wee! Democrats are in charge. I mean, that's the Communist Party USA. It's really quite hilarious. They're a joke. I tell people, conservatives and liberals alike, who are scared of Communist Party USA, I'm like, they're harmless. They're harmless. Trust me, they're harmless. A lot of them, they're harmless. Let's see. Everybody I've known who hates communism don't even know what it is. Oh, they don't know what it is. They don't know what socialism is. They and here's the thing, they couldn't tell you the difference between Leninism. They couldn't tell you the difference between Stalinism, Castroism, Maoism, Trotskyism, Titoism. They couldn't tell you any of these things, and they couldn't tell you the history of it. And because I'll ask them questions and all of that, and then they act like they're an expert, and then they'll say that Hitler was a socialist or a communist, and then I'll be like, wait a minute, no, I'll tell them my people died in the Holocaust. The Social Democrats in Germany, just kind of like, they don't know. The right wing don't know. I mean, it just drives me nuts when they do that sort of thing. Honestly, let's see here. I know, right? Yep. They don't know what it is. That's right. Let's see. Linda's worried about an authoritarian communist that doesn't have to be that way, though. Yeah, and here's the thing: people, when Obama was elected, people actually thought that we were going to become communists. I mean, I'm just like, really? I mean, he continued the policies of George W. Bush. I mean, he sprinkled a little stuff here and there. No matter what, I mean, the late Gus Hall could come back from the grave and become president of the United States with Angela Davis. No, Angela Davis could run for president as a Communist Party member and bring Gus Hall back from the grave and be the vice president. And you know what will happen? Mitch McConnell will still get his fucking way, because as long as that asshole is around, no matter who's in charge, he manages to get his way. So, United States can't have nice things because of Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's worse than Biden. He's worse than Trump. I mean, he's just worse than everybody. He's the worst person in Washington, D.C. right now. I mean, because he's been just a piece of shit for decades. Turtle Man. This is my impression of Mitch McConnell. Hi, I'm Mitch McConnell. I'm an asshole. I wake up in the morning being an asshole. Anyway, I know that was pretty bad. So let's see. I think we discussed that there. Let's see. Looking back, thinking of Obama was a communist was historical. Even today, some conservatives call Biden, Commie Joe. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah. Oh, let's see here. How's he still alive? Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the Walking Dead. All right. Let's see. You're right. Ask somebody who hates communism what it is. Crickets. Yep. Yep. Or they'll give you a bullshit answer that doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Yep. And I have to go get some sleep, folks. Anyway, if y'all like what you heard, press like and comment. And if you disagree, comment anyway. We will have a conversation. I try to respond back to everybody if I can. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch. I'm on Twitter all the time, almost all the time. Too much, probably. Follow me on Rumble. I am probably going to, by October, I will probably start posting on Rumble. I'm just trying to figure things out and everything. And also, I'm on the verge of buying a new computer, too. One of my other computer got it just outlived its usefulness and everything. So anyway, and always reject corporate media. And all that. So reject corporate media because they have nothing to offer us. And an announcement to all of you. And y'all still around? Listen, if y'all still around, October the 8th, Washington, D.C., at the U.S. Department of Justice, there will be a protest on behalf of Julian Assange. And I hope to see you all there. I'm planning to be there. I will say there's a 95% chance I'll be there. Something always can come up, but I'm planning to be there. So if y'all there, y'all recognize me, and hopefully, so we'll chat and all that, and exchange pleasantries and all. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and great show, Willie. Share it out. Get them. Peace and love to y'all. Yes, thank you. Need to get on Rockfin too. It will probably happen down the road. So, okay, I am going to get out of here. Y'all take care. Let me conclude by saying to y'all, music. Get this 1980s vibe going on here. Take care.